wear magnetic boots. They have to take into accommodation of all things. They have to juice themselves up when they go to faster travel that pushes them faster. They actually have to inject something that physically tries to prepare them for the G forces. And the third group in all of this are the belters. They are the ones who are out in the Kuiper Belt trying to, eke out some kind of living. They are treated like shit by the other two sides and as cheap labor. They want their own freedom. They want their own representation. They speak in kind of a pidgin English. And, they are often considered terrorists for actions of forming unions and refusing to work for either the Urtas or the Dustas, right? The Martians, right? Going back and forth. And it's that political tension between these three groups that drive it. And this is why I think it's a beautiful piece of storytelling, because in that, the casting in our current age, of course, so you have black people, you have white people, you have Asian people, you really have all the representation, and it's just kind of not a big deal. Like you have a woman in charge, you have a very powerful woman who's in charge or high up in the UN, eventually goes in charge of the UN. There's just all this, and it's always just part of the script. They don't make a big deal out of who's what. And I think it shows like where the woke society could be in, and here's the disappointing part, folks. We've still found reasons to fucking hate each other, right? It's just different from the color of our skin. And that to me shows like a really advanced form of wokeness that, you have women in charge, you have men in charge, you have people of all different race, creeds, religions, who knows, what it is. They're Mormons. There's a subplot in this with Mormons in space. Yes, Mormons going into space. By the way, total side note, if any religion could go out into space,
Mormons on Earth, I'm just pointing out.
There are Mormons on Earth, but I'm just saying if any religion is perfectly adapted to going into space, that's one of the best of the big ones, of the more majorly accepted ones. They're ready for it.
That's what I'm saying. Like Mormonism, the origin of, as I understand it, makes a little more sense if it happened in space versus in Earth.
I'm just saying they're ready to go, but they're.
That shares my last name. I feel like I can say that.
Presumably, they're Jews. They're everything. Muslims. We've got everybody. But that's not what people are fighting over anymore. It's different geopolitics that they're fighting over. It's resources. It's, where their state is, how much voice they have. And that's what I really like about it, is that it shows the unfortunate part about human nature, that probably if somehow we could get to the point where we're stopped being so concerned and, following people through convenience stores and, telling people you need to calm down, sir. If we ever could make it past that, we would still find things to fucking fight about and still find things to marginalize, that being what planet you're from in this particular case, right? And eventually it moves into interstellar travel. I don't want to give away, it's a long story arc. And there's even questions there. There's even alien technology that gets introduced to it, but still, of course, we still find ways to try and fuck each other over and try and do it. So I guess I've got the dark side of woke, because I really think it's a compelling show. I like it. I like all the actors on it. I feel like all their motivations are always made extremely clear and done very well. And they just give us that. And as I was teasing, I'm teasing the great God Bezos, who, I can tease him all I want, but shit's coming to my door every day. Thanks, Jeff. I guess you can, and he actually saved the series. The series was on Sci-Fi for a little while, and it got canceled. And essentially I always picture it being like, by that, it pleases us. And maybe that's part of the reason why he's going to space and whipping out his dick. No, really, I know my wife and I just broke up, but it's amazing. It goes to space.
Did they?
Here at that point, I as I say, I feel like it's like that great. I feel that if you haven't watched it, highly recommended it. It's a definite inside nerddom, but I feel like it's really great sci-fi, high sci-fi, with that geopolitical idea into it, and with some really interesting questions and deep thoughts about like that kind of question of where mankind goes. And that, to me, should be what we want to ask in these stories, and if we're getting true representation. Where can we go? Where can we, what kind of society could we make? And admittedly, that's going to lean towards the sci-fi. So I understand that. We get a little bit of it in Marvel, just a touch, just that idea. The good example being Black Panther, that it's this highly advanced society, and Black Panther, and even in Falcon Winter Soldier, we brought it up. They kind of asked the really hard questions there. Hey, Wakanda, you sat that whole slavery thing out, huh? That was okay. That's we went there. Could have helped a lot there. Could have used just a little bit of help, but okay. And Bucky turning straight to to the Falcon there, Sam, and saying, hey, listen, we're sorry. I'm sorry. When Steve and I gave you the shield, we didn't really think about the impact of what that be as a Black man in America taking that shield. I liked those moments. Those were real and the right things to be asking. Quick note as I finish up here, did honestly enjoy Captain Marvel. There, I was like, you're woke. It's good. The character went from a male to a female through a very natural progression. The male dying. When you put in the whole subplot about her quote unquote roommate, that was the only thing that pissed me off. I was pissed off because you didn't go woke enough. That was not her roommate. That was her girlfriend. What the fuck are you doing right now? I know she had a daughter. Yeah, she wasn't a gold star. Just fucking, I get it. Yeah, hey, life is complicated. I know so many stories that are exactly that, and okay, I guess the one excuse I'll give them, it was the 90s. So, okay, I'll give you that. It was the 90s. And a lot of women I knew had roommates back in the 90s. I'll just leave it at that. Because
I think when you say that, you touch on the other side of it, because that movie was going to be, like I said, awful no matter who the lead was.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to give us a C-tier Marvel character that everyone kind of understands because, well, their name Marvel is in their name, no. You have to go Guardians of the Galaxy. You got to give me some silliness. You got to give me some laughs. You got to give me some music, because otherwise I don't know shit about this character and I don't really care. But the point is, that's the reason why that movie actually wasn't great. Not because of Brie Larson, but suddenly, because of Brie Larson, that's why this movie is awful. So that's why it's doubly important, and it's something that the producers, who are mainly white, don't understand. That when you do these things and you don't give thought to really deepening and enriching a lot of these diverse characters, all the blame is going to go on them. Like those Star Wars movies sucked because of that one Asian lady. It was that one Asian lady. If it wasn't for that one Asian lady,
according to Twitter,
if it wasn't because of that one Asian lady, that movie would not have been the spurting avalanche of diarrhea that it was. If it just wasn't for her, which is obvious bullshit. So that's another side of that point.
Oh, Steam fans, I just want to
waterfall.
Point out that Greg,
equivalent would be
the Star Child, never missing an opportunity to take a dump on my Star Wars. That's all that was.
Greg's like a Sith Lord. Like he never misses opportunity to show the dark side of the Force when it comes to the Star Wars franchise. I mean, he's always showing up to just completely blow up planets of hope and
I just want good movies
and love memories of really bad content since
Gregory.
Empire Strikes Back. Let's be clear, really bad content since.
Strike me down.
Outside the video games and the books, I mean, Greg. The hard part with Greg and his Sith Lordom is he's not wrong about Star Wars. That's the hard part. I can't get around it. Josh can't, and no one can. I mean,
my best friend in these arguments are Star Wars fans, because I'm like, you guys know everything I'm talking about. You know every single thing I'm talking about. You say it all the fucking time.
Star Wars is definitely our sibling that we know is fucking awful, but outside the house, we have to act like we have to, protect it and stick up. It's like, what are you talking about? Jimmy's great. He totally does not smell like piss and shit. You're like, right. You smell it. I know you smell it. Like you're holding your nose right now. We're like, no, what are you talking about? Meanwhile, in the house, stop fucking pissing and shitting on yourself, Jimmy. What the fuck?
Well, that's
one way you can look at it. There could also be that cousin that comes outside and says, you need to shower.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to call you out. I'm going to call you out because you like something.
Yeah.
That's
Greg, note you're the cousin because you're outside the house. That's all there is. You live in your own house, so you can afford to do that. But all right. So I don't know if I could possibly give a better intro to the Three of Clubs than that for his take on this subject. But we're going to give it away to him right now and see what he has to say after observing, as always, sitting back there, skulking like the emperor himself. Gregory. Rashawn. Submissive Emperor Palpatine. Do it. Strike me down. Do it.
See, that's not fair because that's totally going to make me go off on a tangent on how many bad things happened on the last trilogy. I mean, you follow up with the second new trilogy with awful. I mean, you guys, who the fuck in the writing room is like, you know what? People need Senate battles. I mean, that was the first trilogy. To the point where when Anakin shows up to kill fucking kids, we're like, yeah, why not? Like, we're in it. We're in it. Like, we got nothing else to hold on to. We've been watching
something else is happening.
Hour and a half of this movie and the last fucking movie of the last one. We know the next one's not going to get better because you're introducing clones. So awesome. Great job with the fucking trilogy. And then like you go back and you watch the original trilogy and realize it does not get better after Empire Strikes Back. It really does not. I mean, I love Return of the Jedi. I felt like that was my Star Wars movie because I was born in 1980. So it was literally the one I got to go to the movie theater to see. And like, I'm haunted by me pointing out the bullshit of Jar Jar Binks to my brother when my nephew is all in love with it. And he looks at me like, are you shitting me? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, that was you and the fucking Ewoks. I'm like, fuck you. What are you talking about? The Ewoks are awesome. Like, I totally mythicized them. And I went back and watched them. I'm like, holy fuck, this is awful. The whole movie is awful. Don't even get me going on the goddamn plot that it took for Luke to get to Han Solo. Holy shit. Shout out to people like College Humor and Crack.com. Look them up and they will walk it over way better than me. But like, seriously, it's like, who's writing this shit? So like, yeah, don't get me going on a tangent with Star Wars because it is such a beast of burden to love that goddamn franchise. Because the last one culminated with goddamn a kiss that no one asked for. No one literally asked for. We got over a goddamn new introduction of how hyperspeed works in goddamn Star Wars after 7.5 goddamn movies. We all of a sudden now have to worry about fuel. Like, look, one person tried to point out because they went with the Solo movie and it was basically built around that. No, it wasn't. Every goddamn movie in goddamn sci-fi history is always based around one thing. I hate to tell you kids, Ian Reagan, Ghost of Reagan, it's about drugs. I'm in the middle of reading goddamn Dune. Everything's about drugs. Everything is about drugs. Star Wars was about drugs. Solo was about drugs. So get past it. But anyway, we had to go through all that and a casino scene that had nothing to do with anything. So we're it's a beast of burden. And we get to the goddamn kiss at the end of the new trilogy. It's like, you know what? Why are we here? Well, so I have no defense for what Greg has to say. He's right. I mean, Star Trek isn't really that much better, and there's a lot of fucking things that need to be called out for them. But speaking of which, that kind of goes to the point of what we're talking about, and why, frankly, I really did not want to have this conversation or have it be an episode, because I think at best it's hypocritical, and at worst it's antagonistic. You guys make great points, and frankly, the reason why I wanted to go last, and I said this earnestly, is because I did not want to overreact. There's great points across the board, points I absolutely agree with. I argue, Josh, that we are friends not just because of our shared love of sci-fi and pop culture and things like that, but because we have shared ideals. Where we fall on what morality makes sense for humans and if it's real or not can always be debated, but we do see things relatively similarly or else we would not get along. That is just simple fact, which leads me to why I think it's hypocritical. Everything that we benefit from